Good morning, gentlemen. JK, your brother in the struggle here, on my way back from the gym. And today I'm going to be talking about dating. This is in response to a question by a client of mine, and I'm going to be addressing it in a non-politically correct way. So this may shatter some of the assumptions that you have. Let's jump right into it. A lot of my clients, after getting to the late and the maintenance stage of their reboot, those who are single anyway, begin to consider dating. Some of them have been trying to date during the reboot process. Others, for the most part, haven't, due to social anxiety, due to porn-induced erectile dysfunction, social awkwardness, and so on, lack of considerable emotional IQ. These are the issues that kind of hold them back from dating. So they typically want to reboot first and then focus seriously on their dating. However, when they get into the dating game, many of their assumptions are wrong. And I'm going to talk about some of those mistaken assumptions. The first is that your looks don't have as much to do with dating as you think. This is not true. Your personality and just being yourself is not enough. We live in the age of Instagram. Back when I was dating, and just to preface this, I spent 2 years of my reboot exclusively focusing on my dating life. Like, all I did for those 2 years outside of work was go out to bars, clubs, malls, and talk to women and try and get into short-term relationships and have sex. And I did that. And I did that pretty well. I got quite good at it. And this is from a guy who was socially awkward to the point of, well, women just thought I was weird, right? I had porn-induced erectile dysfunction. I had crazy social anxiety, for those of you who followed me for any amount of time. And I overcame these things, and I put myself out there, and I built up the dating life that I wanted. Your looks are important. And I'll put it for you like this. I'll use myself as an example. Now, obviously I'm older, right? I'm turning 38 soon. When I was going through this phase, I was 23, 24 years old. And one thing I will say is that you have to get a realistic idea of what you look like, because there is an acceptable look range that a woman, and I'm talking about highly attractive women, will allow to have sex with them. Back then, on my best day, I would consider myself, my best day ever, I would consider myself a 7.5. Let's say if we use a scale of 1 out of 10, I would consider myself a 7.5. Walking around, I was pretty much a 5 to maybe a 6, all right? And I was okay with that. Now, your opinion of this is irrelevant, right? Because none of y'all are fucking me. So you could, oh, JK, I don't think you're this. It doesn't matter. What matters is, what is this scale in relation to how a woman would actually view you? That's what we're talking about. So you can look at other men around there, and of course, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder or whatever. Let's say you're Asian, right? Or you're Indian, East Asian, or you're Indian, or you're Latino, or you're white. You know what the upper echelon of good-looking guys of your ethnicity are like. All you need to do is just look at the movie stars, right? And then you can go down from there. Knowing that, I looked at myself and I decided, well, what can I do to improve my looks? And I couldn't improve my facial aesthetics anymore. I could just take care of my face. I have like acne scars. Back then I still had acne on my face. So it's like, okay, I can take care of my face better. I can take care of my teeth, and I can change my body. My body was the one thing that I had the most control over. So I started hitting the gym, and I developed a muscular, lean, aesthetic physique, right? Not too bulky, but my clothes fit really well. People could tell I could work out. I kept my body fat low, 10% and below, which took a lot of work, but I look great. And I would say that that gave me a point or two when it came to dating women. You also have to look at your ethnicity. Again, like I mentioned, this isn't going to be a PC kind of video, a politically correct video. If you're East Asian, I'm addressing this to guys who live in the United States. If you're East Asian, or you're Indian, or you're Latino, white, black, women view you and different aspects of your life with a certain rating as well. Here's the example. If you're a white guy, when it comes to your performance in bed, it could be considered to be average or good or bad, but we'll just call it average, right? And you'll get where I'm going with this before you guys freak out. When it comes to your financial status, and these are things women consider. Women might consider it to be average to good, right? When it comes to whether you are a safe person, women will consider you to be safe. So you're on the high end of that. When it comes to, are you American? So are you somebody, and by American, again, we're not being politically correct. Are you somebody that she can bring in front of her family? Are you wholesome, so to speak? Yeah, you're considered to be wholesome, right? Like, you're like, okay, you're the default guy in the United States. If you're black, on the other hand, when it comes to performance in bed, the stereotype is that you're good or you're hung, right? We're talking about stereotypes, guys. We're not being politically correct. It's that you're good in bed. When it comes to, are you American? You're up there too. You're considered to be like, yeah, cool. Like, this is something that we see in our culture. This is something we see on TV. It's not weird. It's not different as it was like 50 years ago or 60, 70 years ago to date a guy like this, a black man. When it comes to your financial status, the stereotype is that you are not financially well off. The stereotype is straight up that you're poor, you don't have money. When it comes to, are you safe? The stereotype is no, you are not safe. Let's talk about East Asian men. When it comes to East Asian men, the stereotype of in bed is you're not good in bed. When it comes to your financial status, you're well off, you know, like you have money. That's the stereotype. When it comes to safe, like, yes, you're safe. When it comes to American, it's usually no. It's like, yeah, it's not something that is represented in American culture as much as black men or white men. When it comes to Indian men, it would be good in bed, no. It would be financially well off, yes. It would be safe, yes. American, no. We can go on with different ethnicities, but you guys get the idea. So what the heck does all of this mean, JK? Well, this means that when you're dating and you're focusing on, we're just talking about the most basic parts, the foundation, you want to focus on raising up by points the parts of you that are viewed as negatives so that you become well-rounded, so to speak, when it comes to the dating game. An example would be for a black man, and this is what worked for me. I know that I was perceived as dangerous. I know that I was perceived as good in bed. And of course, pornography also, unfortunately, propagates these stereotypes. We can, oh my God, it sucks, but this is the reality. I wouldn't be perceived as very well educated. I wouldn't be perceived as wealthy. So I played up those parts of me, because regardless of these stereotypes, guys, as you already know, that is not who we are. We're not defined by our looks. This is the projection from other people on us. We're all individuals. We all have unique things about us. So if there is something about you that is unique, you have to play it up. But understand that you are trying to build intimacy with somebody. You're trying to have sex with somebody. And as much as people might say, oh, like, you need to be yourself. How can you talk about building healthy intimacy when the person you are projecting is not you? Listen, we're human beings. There's a biological aspect to this, right? When you attract somebody, once attraction is established, it doesn't matter. Changing certain aspects of yourself is not going to repel that person immediately, unless it's something that's actually repellent. But you do have to attract people in the first place. Back to what I was saying. So how did I change this? Well, I turned down my edge. What does that mean? It means that I tried not to be edgy. When I would go to a bar or a lounge, I would dress up a step higher than everyone there. So let's say I went to like a local bar or like a local brewery. I wouldn't go wearing like a fucking t-shirt. I would go there, but I would wear like maybe a nice polo as opposed to a t-shirt. I would wear fitted jeans and I would wear decent shoes. Not dress shoes, but I would wear like nice mix, like a sneaker dress kind of shoe. I'd wear stuff that fit me and showed off my body, right? I wouldn't go in with like a whole bunch of piercings. I wasn't a guy who was gonna go out there and get tattooed. If I was going to a nice lounge or a club back in the day, instead of just wearing like a button-up shirt like most guys would and looking like a non-player character, I would actually wear a blazer, like a nice V-neck t-shirt and blazer. That's how I would dress. If I was going to a more high-end place that required like a higher cover charge, oh, I'd go straight up suited up all the way, right? Why? Because I needed to stand out, and I needed to downplay the stereotypes that would get in the way of me attracting the type of woman that I wanted. Understand that there are women out there who have low self-esteem, and regardless of how they look, they will sleep with anyone who is moderately attractive once they've had a few drinks in them. But that wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for attractive women who had a high social IQ, and I understood that these women were very sensitive about who they were seen out with in public. They were sensitive about if they came out with friends, would their friends get in the way of them leaving with a guy? So we're talking about casual sex in this sense. So let's talk about, let's say, an East Asian guy. My wingmen back in the day, I've had quite a few East Asian wingmen, Indian wingmen, and I do have a thing to say about the combo, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. Even the men you go out with when you're going to talk to women, who you go out with makes a difference, okay? East Asian guys have to play up certain aspects of their looks. To counteract the nerdy, asexual, I wouldn't have sex with you vibe, I recommend putting on muscle. And all my friends who are East Asians, who have amazing success with women of all races and backgrounds, all ethnicities, everything, they have muscle. Like, they are fit East Asian guys, right? They get rid of their glasses typically. They usually wear contacts just to counteract the whole nerdy thing. They get a cool hairstyle, and usually they have like pierced ears, and they don't dress in a nerdy way. So they wouldn't be suited up in a place where I would be suited up. They would dress a little bit more edgy, because that is the part of them they need to kind of build up to balance out their other characteristics. The same goes for Indian men. What is the impact that this actually has on your dating life? Well, what happens is that the women who are into you, the women who are like, yeah, I would date an Asian guy, I would date an Indian guy, well, those who are into you will be very aggressive, right? It's a concept called polarizing. And I learned this from Mark Manson back when he was a dating coach, and he was my coach for a while. It simply means that if a black man or an Asian man or an East Asian man or a white man walk into a bar or a city or an area where there are women of a certain ethnicity, the women in there, and they are the minority, the white guy's the minority. You can see this played out really well in Asia, okay? So when you travel to Asia and you go to any of the bars or the clubs, if there is just one white guy there and everybody there is of a different background, the women who are into white men are going to be very aggressive about showing their attraction to him. This doesn't mean they're going to be throwing themselves all over him. It simply means that they're going to go out of their way to use their body language to show that they're interested by giving him proximity, being close to him, dancing close to him, flipping their hair next to him, making strong eye contact with him, and so on. The same goes for a black man who goes to a city that's, let's say, 99% white, right? And he goes to a bar or a club. The women there who are into black men, especially if this is a black man who has balanced his stuff out, they are going to be aggressive about being with men like that. If you've ever been to, like, I don't know, for the guys who are in college, and I noticed this phenomenon while I was learning how to do this, if you go to, like, you'll see this in certain college bars back in the day. Well, I'm saying back in the day because that's when I was in college. You would see girls leaving with black men, right? They just leave the hottest girls in your perception would leave with these guys, because those guys in those college towns that might be like 90% white, they are a rarity, and the women who are into them are going to leave with them. I've seen it play out in Asian cities when I've traveled, where the most attractive women would just leave with some white guy who showed up, right? And I've traveled quite a bit. We sold books door to door back in the day. You know, at the end of the selling season, we'd go out to different bars and places. I have seen Indian guys clean up. I've seen East Asian guys clean up simply because they understood this. When they went out to these different places, they were aware. They weren't standing at a corner at the bar just like, oh, I hope something happens. They weren't getting lucky. God, I hate that phrase. They actually went out, and their purpose was very simple. I'm going to be very social with people so I can get warmed up. And I am not going to go out talking to women who are not interested with me. I'm only going to spend my energy speaking to women who have already shown interest in me. And they understand that those women are not going to show interest in them until they have, let's call it, balanced out their stereotype. Does this make sense, guys? Let me know in the comment section if it does. I'm not sure how you guys are going to receive this video, but I've been receiving questions about it within our group, so I just decided to be direct in a non-PC way about what actually happens. When it comes to a wingman, and I don't know what the game is like these days because I spent most of my time working and I am in a long-term relationship, but back then I would go out with wingmen. I have friends who are black, white, East Asian, Indian, Latino. Things never worked out when I went out with a black wingman. But when I went out with an East Asian wingman, things were great. Why? Because of the juxtaposition. Because it is different. Women have not seen something like that before, especially if I'm a guy who is well-dressed, not too much edge, but I'm jacked, I'm well-spoken. The perception that I always gave back then was that I was well-educated, I was well-off, and I looked the part. They were comfortable speaking with me, and whoever the East Asian guy was, and I've had a bunch of wingmen over the days, great friends too, they typically were jacked, they had edge, they did not look like your typical East Asian guy, right? They looked unusual, they had colored contacts, they were jacked, and women hadn't seen that. They were just like, they were fascinated, they were interested in how we know each other, and they didn't ask like, oh, you know, how did you guys become friends? This was just something that was happening subconsciously, so it was much easier to speak to them. When I went out with a black wingman, one of my black friends, and I'm thinking of a very specific guy, he might even watch this video, man, when we spoke to women, it was as if they assumed like, you guys just want to have sex. That was it. They're just like, you guys just want to have sex with us. Two black men came up to us, to two Latino women, or to two black women. It was assumed automatically that we wanted to have sex. So we got a lot of resistance right off the bat. But when it was an East Asian guy or an Indian guy, women were a little bit, you know, open, they were comfortable, they weren't closed off to that. It made it easier for us to generate attraction. So those are my thoughts on that. I think I'm gonna kind of wind down the video here because I rarely shoot videos like this. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this. You guys might fucking hate it, but if you found this helpful and you would like me to go a little bit deeper into it, I definitely can, and I will do it if y'all request it, right? So if I get like, let's say 5 requests for this in the comment section, then I'm going to shoot more videos. If not, it's totally cool. I'll just stick to helping you guys end your out of control behavior, relapse prevention, and all that good stuff. I'm JK, your brother in the struggle. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will speak to you later on in the week. Whenever you're ready, here are 4 ways that Porn Reboot can help you out for free. The first way is to subscribe to our channel and make sure you click on the notification bell to get a new video every other day. The second way is to get a copy of the free book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men. You'll learn about my personal struggle and the lessons I've learned over a decade, as well as strategies for putting together your porn reboot plan and ending your compulsive behavior with pornography or masturbation. So click on the link in the description below this video. The third way is if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners, guys who work in sales, consulting, or high-level jobs, men who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's also a link to join in the description below this video. And finally, if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, you want to be an authentic man and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, click on the link in the description below this video that says free coaching call, or visit elevatedrecovery.org and click on the link which says book a call.